Nice little tasty chili dogs, as far as I just had those in my own time here. Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm back for some more of the Maxi Toys videos, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of NES Remakes 2 for the Nintendo Wii U eShop download. So, last time we actually did fully done with the first ever stage in the forms of Remakes 1 set of stages, in addition to actually accomplish Super Mario Bros. 3. Now, as you can see, we've actually got pretty much everything done here, but in forms of 3-star rankings. In addition to that, though, we also managed to acclaim ourselves Rainbow Stars runs. So even then, that we fully, 100% Super Mario Bros. 3 pretty much, because I'm pretty much masterful when it comes to that specific, incredible platforming game. So, yeah, today for this episode, folks, is the fact we're going to be jumping into both of these platforms, session today, which we have Super Mario Bros. 2, aka Super Mario USA, and Kirby's Adventure, all in one unique little video. So even then, before we get started, we actually got ourselves 16 stamps from the very first part of this playthrough, because normally, yeah, just like the ones in the first NES Remix game, you normally get yourselves 10 stamps from the get-go, but then you later on actually unlock 90 more of them, so that makes 100 stamps in total, just like the ones in NES Remix 1. So with that being said, let's get started by the forms of Super Mario Bros. 2, aka Super Mario USA. For those who live in Japan, or in this case, well, just in around Asia countries, that because of how the fact that, well, Japan already got the original Super Mario Bros. 2, but in forms of it, in the actual English localization version, we actually got ourselves Super Mario Bros. 2 The Lost Levels instead. Well, normally that's what it normally calls it during the likes of the English version of the original Japanese Super Mario Bros. 2, which is basically, more accurately, the harder version of Super Mario Bros. The original game, what we all know and love. But I digress though, so let's go ahead and just get started right there. Now, obviously, we already familiar with Super Mario Bros. 2, because we obviously, both Mario and Luigi did manage to tackle this during the likes of, around a few days, time before, like, you know, Mario Party, the Top 100 is about to be releasing until at some point in the forms of, well, specifically in North America, in the forms of November, and especially noticeable by the forms of, that was before when, My Little Pony the movie 2017 is about to be, on its horizon, until whenever it gets to the point, like, I'm assuming, both Mario and Luigi did manage to finish this Let's Play during the likes of Super Mario All-Stars version of that particular game. And, my first experience of the forms of Super Mario Bros. 2 was actually forms of, let's just say both Super Smash Bros. Brawl's Masterpiece, you know there's one of these, demo games you get, selection of the forms of these demo games in the forms of masterpieces in both Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and even most recently Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U, and basically that's all we can get. But my first true experience of the forms of Super Mario Bros. 2 is that, much like the ones in Super Mario Bros. 3, I actually first experienced this game by the forms I've actually picked up the forms of the Game Boy Advance version of this game, by the forms of Super Mario Advance, which is used to be the first ever Super Mario Advance game that's ever consist of. Like, you know, basically it's very much like the ones in, you know the game called Super Mario Bros. Deluxe for the Game Boy Color? That normally contains both Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, or it normally calls it Super Mario Bros. For super players. Mind you, for this little, some conception through it. And, yeah, because of that though, they only released just only 4 of those Super Mario Advance games. Like, you know, it has like Super Mario Bros. 2 here, and especially noticeable in Super Mario World, and Yoshi's Island, and finally Super Mario Bros. 3. It's something is a little bit of an odd order between those Mario games releases, but usually as far as I can think about it. So anyways, enough about that jibby jabber. So today was actually forms of the 2nd of July, so this means that, you know, still as hot as ever, so even then, they're expecting the weather is going to be very, very good today, and, that's as far as I can make the consumption with this, but this specific, for this matter. So anyways, now we move on to go through the door and find a coin, so let's go and enter the secret room, and, not grab the mushroom, but grab the coin. Get the damn coin. Anyways, though. Charge, and then just, you know, just do a little bit of a powerful jump, and then escape, and, gather cherries, and just collect a Starman. like you normally collect like just only 5 cherries and that's about it. Oh, that was really, I would say that's probably the slowest performance in this specific section, because even then that I wasn't really sure of how the fact that I was expecting to see that triggers to be happening. So, oh, you kidding me? The enemies doesn't appear whenever I keep on scrolling to the right. Oh, jeez. It's one of those games that how the fact that another inconsistency with the enemies can be at times, because even then, that just like the ones in Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, that normally that the how inconsistent the enemy placement can be at times, but even then I've lost my opportunity to get my rainbow stars on that specific run through those. So, oh well. Stage 5. Defeat the Mouser. Body of Forms that takes place in World 1, obviously, so, but basically we need to toss the bombs right at him by, I would say 3 times, because even then, that way we can able to deal the amount of damage that we can take for the Forms of Mouser. Sometimes it can be pretty tricky sometimes, because you have to be right on with that specific aiming shot with the Forms of the bomb itself, or in this case, the bomb in general. Especially noticeable, you have to be right on with that specific angle, whatever if the Mouser moves all over the place. Oh, actually, how much hits does Mouser have? I totally forgot about that. I think it's probably roughly 4 hits, so even then, I would expect it. I'm probably not going to get the rainbow star on that one, though, I'm afraid. But, at least it's something. But, at least I'll come back to those until we actually get into the rainbow stars run through of NES Remix 2, so don't worry, we'll get to those. And there's Princess Peach right there, based off from Super Mario Bros. 3, because of that familiar sprite. And let's go ahead and move on to the next stage. Stage number 6, use the flying carpets to reach to the other side. I'm gonna assume this particular mission objectives like this is gonna be most likely focusing on this reach to the other side syndrome, because even then, because the first mission is pretty obvious that, are you kidding me? Jeez. Alright, I've only got 1 shot left before I'm able to get myself my game over on this particular part, so that can be a little bit of a more of a intrusive way, but at least we actually did made it that time, thankfully. Alright, past the spikes, use the exit on the other side. Sorry for a little bit of attention right there. Now, what this meant is the fact that we need to hop onto this little particular vehicle right there, and able to actually get to the other side. Look how glowy that toad was. Although it's probably because of how the fact that, well, most of these capture cards nowadays, they're having a really hard time just trying to able to actually keeping track of the flickering involved, but in forms of the some of the emulation games, but in forms of, let's just say, for instance, NES sometimes. But normally that's as far as I can really say about this here. Take an excellent trip across the ocean. I think that normally takes place in World 4-3, because I can definitely tell with that specific area, because even then, if you're watching the Let's Play of Super Mario Bros. 2, that, again, Mario and Luigi did tackle for that, thanks to Super Mario All-Stars compilation, and we've got ourselves a Bowser stamp from, obviously, from Super Mario Bros. 3, but in forms of the final boss in that game, so, oh god, here's the most painful challenge of them all, which is the forms of we have to dig a tons of sand when you're able to actually deal with some of these segments. Well, it's a good thing too that Nintendo decided to able to actually automatically select Toad with you, because even though he does a really good job for able to actually dig out a tons of sand, but even then, compared to if you ever select Princess Peach, well, you're having a hard time here, because even then, that she takes forever to actually pick up stuff, especially noticeable, like, for instance, sand, and all the, you know, vegetable plumbing and all that stuff. Well, at least cherries can help you out for a little bit, but I'm really hoping that, it doesn't affect me as far as it used to be, so, anyway, though. So, again, there's not much else I can really say about this here, besides the fact that, Super Mario Bros. 2 actually retains 12 stages, unlike, 16 from Super Mario Bros. 3, which even then, that makes it pretty obvious, considering how the fact that this game was originally called, well, in Japan, though, anyway, Super Mario Bros., well, Super Mario USA, I should say, because even then, you know, you get the idea. Defeat, Tri-Clyde, which even then is a, you know, 3-headed snake. It's almost like very similar to the Hydra, except it doesn't take place in the, you know, in Hercules' environment, though, so even then, although it might be similar to one another, but it's just a different type of name, so even then, that makes it pretty much, you know. Okay, good, there we go. Thank God I don't have to touch that mission again, because even then, though, oh my god, next NES game we're actually going to be trying out, and that's the forms of Kid Icarus. I've heard about this game before, especially noticeable thanks to the forms of, my first experience with that in that specific game is the forms of, again, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, but the forms of the introduction to, Pit. but it informs of that specific fighter, so even though there's one pointing out right away. Stage 8 is to able to get the keys and just go through the door syndrome. So let's go ahead and grab this first key from here. Yeah, the background, especially with this little underground segments like this, compared to the Super Nintendo's counterpart, it's actually gone pretty blocky around here, and plus it's not as aesthetically speaking as I'm hoping it will be. But then again, that was back in the day after all, but I digress. As you probably noticed by something for this factor is the fact that Toad in this particular game is actually in blue, because that makes it pretty obvious how the fact that if you ever compare to the games like, you know, Super Mario 3D World that usually has the exact same playable characters, excluding Rosalina, spoiler alert, if you haven't played Super Mario 3D Land yet. Well, speaking of which, Super Mario 3D World was almost 5 years now, so even then, 5 years since whenever it first releases in the forms of 2013. Which, gee, that must have come way too fast that often. And there we go. That concludes stage 8, so let's see what rankings I can get. Thank you, thank you. I need some damn rainbow stars. I need some so badly. So anyways though, oh yeah, we got there's another stamp here and there as well. I'm presuming I might as well take Dr. Mario. Gee, Master able to actually just manage to come across into that later. But anyways, stage 9. If I remember correctly, this takes place in the forms of World 7-2. Because of these conveyor belts, and use the conveyor belts to get up and out, so... Okay, that's pretty obvious. Now, I suggest you don't go from the bottom right there, because you automatically failed that, so just go all the way to the right, and there you go. And of course we have to watch out for these really annoying Panzer-looking enemies, because these are by far the most annoying enemies in this game, and these little sparkers, which can be annoying to dodge at times. But I digress. It's a good thing too, we actually just managed to select Toad on this specific mission too, because of that specific moments that, again, he picks up stuff very, very quickly, unlike Princess Peach, for example. Now the fact that it makes the entire premise of that specific segment of this mission a lot more comfortable with. So, there we go, ourselves I'm assuming this might actually be the red virus, or the yellow virus, for that specific, sprites, but even though we can't really tell because of how the fact what the actual color of the actual virus was actually at, because even though they only contains like, you know, blue, yellow, and red virus pretty much, so. Alright, so defeat Bodo and enter it. Are you kidding me? I got stuck! I don't know about you, but if I manage to able to actually do not get a rainbow star on that one, then I'm actually able to come back for it in another time, because even then, that's quite embarrassment. In fact, yeah, let's just go ahead and deal with, yeah, let's just restart this, because even then, though, I keep on, like, getting thrown off by the forms of how the fact that one thing that makes this game inconsistency sometimes is how the fact that my controller throws off a little bit. I think it's most likely because of the different characters' attributes and all that stuff, which I understand that. But it's just one of those things of how the fact that you might end up flying yourself too fast or too lately, which even then, well, thankfully the controls may have improved in the forms of the original Super Mario Bros. And especially noticeable in Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, mind you, which, trust me, we'll get to Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels until some time or another, which, that might be a really multitude of difficult tasks here and there. Anyways, let's go inside this little, hog head. And speaking of which, let's go through the gate. Well, technically it's more accurately a hog head, so even then though, because, you know, we're actually going to be beating the likes out of this, hog head, like, you know, dozens or so times. Oh crap, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, quick. Okay, good. Thankfully we actually defeat him. And able to actually entering the hog's head, while actually going for the wall. That's a little bit more weird, as far as I'm aware for that. So, there we go, we got those rainbow stars on that one, so... 81 stars, not too shabby this time through, so even then though, that, and we got ourselves a Bodo star, so... Now let's move on to the next level. In fact, we're almost nearly towards the end of Super Mario Bros. 2, kind of thing about it. Stage 11, sorry, that we need to climb up and use the exit without taking any damage. Oh yeah, because we only got 1 unit of health left, so that makes it pretty obvious what this solution goes, so... This might be the longest, video for this Let's Play, folks, because, much like the ones in, the original NES remix, is that I decided to able to actually do, like, some videos I'm actually able to do just one game per video, and at the same time I might actually do a double selection of games whenever we decide to able to tackle for them, pretty much, so... Anyway, so this is not too bad. And the final part is to able to... Oh, no. I dreaded this section whenever first time I played this game on my Game Boy Advance, version of Super Mario Bros. 2. In fact, that wasn't the only time I've actually got to this point. Whenever you gotta be kidding me. My first experience on the forms, well, I've already explained about this, but I've managed to able to pick up Super Mario Advance, back in during the forms of, I would say 10 years ago, or in this case, almost 10 years ago, actually, in the forms of October 2008. And then, whenever I managed to got myself Super Mario Advance for my first time I've ever experienced Super Mario Bros. 2, even especially noticeable with the forms of Super Mario Advance entirely, I've managed to accidentally pick up the American copy, which even then, or not just the forms of the American copy per se, but more accurately, a fake cartridge version of it, because... Oh my gosh, speaking of which, we got ourselves a hard cat right there, so not too shabby there. Anyway, so now let's move on to the final stage in Super Mario Bros. 2, and that is to able to defeat Wart himself. And let's just kill myself. So anyways, the first part right there is to catch 2 vegetables right from the start though, so it's not that too difficult. The only thing you need to worry about though, is the fact that whenever he uses the Dream Machine and all that stuff, which, sure, why does he got himself his Dream Machine in the first place? But anyways though, just trying to able to catch those 2 vegetables and you should be good to go. And defeat Wart by throwing vegetables into its mouth, so even though that should be able to do the job done, but in forms of the, the final boss in Super Mario Bros. 2 USA version, as far as I'm aware from that. Sometimes this boss can get pretty difficult, I will admit though right away though, because there were a few times I was mainly trying to able to actually chuck these vegetables right into its mouth, but sometimes if you actually occasionally manage to use this little really annoying bubble projectiles that he's going to be using, sometimes it really deflected my vegetable tossing, which even then though, that might be hindering my tossing skills for that department, or perhaps it's mainly because of how the fact that if I was getting close to him and all that stuff. But, naturally speaking, it's not too difficult or anything, it's just it might take forever to actually get into this boss fight sometimes, because just like the ones in the original Legend of Zelda, in the forms of the final boss in that game, but in forms of Ganon, that sometimes it might take forever to able to actually deal with him, because of how he actually teleports all over the place, and you can't really tell where he's actually in, unless if you're actually doing a well-timing well-timing stab. And if you manage to able to actually hit Ganon from that way, and you're able to finish him off with the silver arrows, so even then, that makes it pretty obvious. Sorry, I can't speak today. That makes it pretty obvious at this point. Anyways, we've actually fully completely done with Super Mario Bros. 2. So, the only exception being is the forms I'm assuming we actually missed out 4 stages when it comes to Rainbow Runs. But don't worry, we'll come back to that sooner or later. But for now, let's take care of that out of the way, and let's move on to Kirby's Adventure. So even then though, that this game, much like in Super Mario... Oh, actually, this game does have 13 stages kind of thing about it, because yes, it does have 1 stage more than, Super Mario Bros. 2. And from the get-go, we have to watch a demo! Jeez, I hate when challenges like this, because even then though, sometimes it might take forever to actually get into the main action. What I do know is pretty obvious, it plays exactly like how it does it in the forms of, back in the NES Remix 1, that you normally give yourselves a little bit of a mini short clip of how the game plays out. But normally in this game, this time around though, in the forms of NES Remix 2, it does not have a small brief clip this time around though, to able to actually use this to have a rewatch this time around though, which I found was kind of strange. Well, obviously, if you probably couldn't tell already by the forms of this game already, because Mickey Mouse already done this game by the forms of the Kirby Marathon, and similar to the likes of Sylvester already finished up with the forms of Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, because between both Kirby's Adventure and Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, which is basically a remake version of, Kirby's Adventure, both play the exact same games between each other, but although, except the fact that in Nightmare in Dreamland, it does have some aesthetical changes, but in forms of the NES version counterparts, because normally in Kirby's Adventure it's on 8-bit, whilst in the, I'm assuming the Game Boy Advance port version of that game, I think it's more likely runs in, well, it's not 64-bit, but it's more likely a different, bit system, which I wasn't really, too much of an expert when it comes to the actual resolution, but in forms of how this visual style works. But anyways though, so let's get this thing started by the forms of Kirby's Adventure selection of challenges. this won't be that much difficult though, because we obviously already tackled for this game, but it forms of the very beginning of 2018, because, you know, the celebration of the forms of back in the day, in the forms of in January anyway, to celebrate with Kirby Star Allies for the Nintendo Switch release. So that's pretty much in common there. So anyways, let's go ahead and use our copy ability right there to defeat 3 of these enemies. And press A while you're in down, you can able to destroy bomb blocks such as so. So even though you can able to actually do it just as ease. So thankfully though, I don't have to replay that challenge again, because that demo footage right there can take forever to actually jump in. So speaking of Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, here we have it yet again. So even then, oh boy, you're probably expecting to actually come across into the hardest selection of challenges in the forms of the Lost Levels, basically. But I will admit though right away though, is that this game does have 7 stages this time around though, compared to the original Super Mario Bros. Back in the NES Remakes 1, normally has like 23 stages, whereas in this, in the forms of Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, in addition to the forms of just in NES Remakes 2, you know, the Lost Levels only retains 7 stages this time around though, because that, I think the reason why they decided to be able to select 7 stages this time around though, rather than 23, is because I know a lot of people seem to think that Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels is entirely unforgiven for that specific title with a Mario game like that, because, you know, it plays like the original Super Mario Bros., but the level design is just completely different. So, and plus it makes it incredibly harder compared to the likes of the original game counterparts. So that's as far as I can mainly describe the forms of the Lost Levels pretty much. So there you go then. Alright, so we got 93 stars altogether. So I should probably mention about this actually, is that I've already stressed that enough again. The Super Mario Bros. 2, specifically in Japan's Super Mario USA, Master first came out in the forms of, I would say, the international versions of Super Mario Bros. 2, both Europe and America, in the forms of, you know, the Super Mario Bros. 2 that we've already tackled through. That game did first came out in the forms of 1988, around probably the exact same year as how it does in Super Mario Bros. 3, but I wasn't 100% sure on that one. But the game did later released in the forms of Japan, in the forms of Super Mario USA, because of how the fact that you know, Super Mario Bros. 2 is essentially a Doki Doki Panic, except with just Mario characters in it instead of like the original characters. But I digress. But obviously, Kirby's Adventure came out in the forms of 1993, which is pretty obvious for this factor, because even though that game came out the exact same year as when Sonic CD came around, in the forms of the Sega Mega CD, which is a really poor add-on content, or in this case, an add-on attachment in the forms of the Mega Drive itself. Anyways, let's go ahead and get that one up right there. Sometimes I'm having struggling with this particular parts like this, because that border gets in my way sometimes, but even then though, yeah. So speaking of Kirby, as far as the actual Kirby games in general, is the fact that, you know, we've already, I'm assuming that, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that, Piglet already finished up with the forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror during the likes of a couple of days ago, but then later on, during the likes of July, around the same time as the forms of, or around the same month as when we were able to decide to go ahead and tackle through Captain Toad Treasure Tracker in the next coming days. In fact, we've only got about, I would say 11 days left until the forms of Nintendo Switch and the 3DS versions of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker will be released. So, can't wait until I'm able to actually get onto those 2 versions of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, because I haven't exactly completely done with the Wii U version on my own time. Well, granted, technically back in 2015, that we did manage to tackle for that game back in during the likes of 2015, but we decided to able to do a redo Let's Play on that one because of, well, the first few parts have a little bit of a mixed bag quality, but however though, the commentary is what it makes it a little bit more sappy for the most part though, so yeah, for this particular challenge right there, we have to deal with a whole bunch of quick draws right there. Now, normally, the fact that you can able to actually deal with the first 3, no problem. But the 4th one, on the other hand, you have to be right on with that specific timing. There we go. Please tell me I've got the rainbow stars on that one, because if I don't, I'm gonna be seriously mad at myself there. Thank God. Thank God I don't have to, like, you know, do that challenge again, because even though that can get pretty tricky for the most part though, especially when timing is involved. And speaking of Kirby, there's a Kirby stamp, so yeah, how about that then? Alright, so stage 5. so far so good when it comes to Rainbow Stars on that specific game so far. At least unlike the ones in Super Mario Bros. 2, aka Super Mario USA. Bunny Forms have only, like, done, like, 8 stages to able to actually get Rainbow Stars from it. But, hey, at least we can able to get possibilities to able to get Rainbow Stars in the forms of Kirby's Adventure as Among Us. So, we'll see what happens there, so... Use the wheel ability to able to actually zoom in and just enter the door. We feel like a speedy old soul traction. Oh crap, I totally forgot about that part right there. I think I might as well kill myself there. Well, good thing I've only have like 1 year of health, because if I keep on dying, then I can able to actually redo that section again. So even then I don't have to worry about like restarting the entire mission again entirely though. But anyways though. So yeah, at this point we actually got ourselves the next Kirby game we'll decide to tackle through, and that's the forms of Kirby Mouse Attack, aka Kirby Squeak Squad, if you those who lived in USA. That should be up until then, and during the likes of this month in particular. Well, it all depends though, because even then though, that we're super busy about these future plannings for our Let's Play career. By the forms of, you know, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, as I mentioned this earlier, and especially noticeable by the forms of trying to able to actually conclude it. But it forms of several other Let's Plays here and there as well. But even then, we'll see what happens there. It all depends though, really. Defeat Mr. Frosty, which even then, that gives us a freeze ability. Defeat Grand Wheelie, right there. I will admit though right away though is that between the Game Boy Advance version of this particular mini boss fight right there, but it forms of Grand Wheelie compared to it does in the Game Boy Advance counterpart, I think the remake of Kirby's Adventure is actually a lot easier compared to the likes of the NES counterpart, because he doesn't jump all over the place as far as what Sylvester already points things out in the forms of this particular, well, I would say Nightmare in Dreamland portion of that Let's Play of Kirby, but even now that's as far as I can tell for that, so... Defeat Bugsy. This might be really tough for the opponents to deal with right there, because if you manage to get right near to him, then you're obviously gonna get caught just like so. So even then, that makes it pretty obvious for this fact. And plus, his sprite is actually a lot smaller, because even then, as you can tell already, I'm actually doing pretty bad dealing with Bugsy, because even then, because I was used to with the forms of the bigger sprite in the forms of Nightmare in Dreamland version, because in the Nightmare in Dreamland, normally this makes that game incredibly easy compared to the original counterparts as I mentioned earlier. That's only because of some of these mini boss fights, especially boss fights in general, were a lot more bigger than the likes of tad smaller ones compared to NES counterparts. I'm assuming that's Luigi, I think, because even then I can definitely tell for this long neck and stuff like that. Well, I wasn't really paying that much attention when it comes to visual structure, so go for the exits that lies ahead, so... Let's see how this goes though, hey? So, again, there's not much else I can really talk for this point, folks, but even then, though, that, aside from, that we've only got 11 days left until, you know, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker will be on its way on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo 3DS at some point. We also got ourselves, I would say 6 more days, or actually, no, not 6 more days. I just kept thinking to myself there, you see there. So, again, I do apologize for that. But, on the other hand, though, we actually got ourselves, I'm assuming we got 15 more days left. And by the way, there's Peach right there, but it forms of Super Mario Bros. 2, after when she's got a, little bit of a death animation, so that's one thing that's pointing out. Okay, so stage number 8, I'm assuming, is to use the high jump ability to reach the top. I can definitely tell what's going to be up there, because even then, we're going to have to fight the, Krakow. Because, you know, that's why the high jump exists on this particular mission or task, so... Hopefully we can able to actually deal with, Krakow yet again, because we already, technically beat him, like, several times already, but even then, this might be actually be a, I don't know how much times we're gonna be able to beat, Krakow at this point, but even then, we'll see what happens there, we'll see what happens. Oh, so close. No, 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 come on. Hopefully I can get myself there. Son of a... You gotta be kidding me. Oh, he's actually way more harder than I was expecting it to, because even then, normally back in during the likes of the official, Kirby's Adventure Let's Play, that normally Mickey Mouse, did have no issues with that whatsoever, but for me, I'm just having a really hard time at this rate, because even then, because of how the fact of my, controls is actually just sometimes locking up or something like that. It's nothing entirely locked up, it's more likely just a lack of delays. certain of these little specific attacks I need to able to range on. So let's go ahead and finish him off. Yeah, there we go. I won't guarantee to get a Rainbow Star on that one because there were a few times I managed to get myself slower pacing down. So yeah, there goes that. And oh, we got ourselves another NES game we're going to be tackling through, which is the forms of Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. So how about that then? Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link definitely is the more tougher Zelda games we've ever got to come across. I can definitely guarantee by this now. But even now, no, we'll get to that eventually. Yeah, same applies to how it does the new forms of, you know, Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, that's for sure. Anyways, Stage 9. Smash 20 blocks. Oh, okay, so it's like the ones in, the Ice Climber challenges, in the forms of, you know, trying to able to break those certain blocks. But this time around, though, we don't have to deal with the most awkward control scheme we've ever got to come across into an NES game this time around, though. Thank goodness for that. But, normally, because of the fact that this game controls handily very well. Despite there are some delay issues I managed to able to come across, well, specifically using too many Kirby abilities all in one go or something like that. But hey, at least we can able to actually just cope with this though, I think. Alright, so it looks like we've almost nearly towards the end of the forms of Kirby's Adventure kind of thing about it, because even now we haven't got that far off, because we're actually on Stage 9, obviously. And we've only got about 3 more stages, oh actually 4 more stages left actually. Sorry about this little tangents right there. But anyways though, we got another stamp right there, but it forms of, I'm presuming that's Little Mac from Punch-Out, because I can definitely tell for that sprite work. Stage 10. Going on to the, I'm assuming this takes place in Grape Garden, in the forms of that particular air blooming, stage. But it forms about the fact that we've only got 2 units of health, and we need to dodge a lot of enemies. Specifically by the forms of, these particular, oh, you Christ. We'll try it again, but hopefully though, I can manage to get this up this time, so... I will admit though, some of these challenges in this particular Kirby's Adventure selection can get slightly tricky at times, because there were a few times, again, my jumps can get a little bit of more of a delay syndrome, and especially noticeable by the fact that I was trying to able to actually use my Kirby ability on my certain right time, but the game tells me that the fact that I certainly got my Kirby abilities usually got delayed sometimes, which even then though, that doesn't happen that often I feel like, but it's just one of those things of how the fact that if you time your things wrongly, then chances are you might actually get yourselves a little bit of a slip up right there. So there we go, we've managed to pass for this specific stage there. So naturally we've only got about 3 more stages left. I'm assuming the next objective we're going to be doing with right there is that we're going to be doing with stage 11, and of course we've actually unlocked stage 16, so even then everything else will be just as alright. And we have ourselves, I'm assuming that's Mario from Punch-Out, whenever he does like a countdown for TKO, or in this case just KO for knockouts and stuff like that, but I digress. Stage 11 is basically we need to defeat the Heavy Mole right there from, you know, stage number 5 boss in the forms of Yogurt Yard, because, you know, you couldn't tell by the actual purpose of that specific world. So anyways though, this boss might be a little bit tricky sometimes, because you have to be right on with that specific pattern right there, but if you want to aim for the Rainbow Star rank on that specific boss, or especially noticeable with this particular stage right there, good luck with that, because, you know, the screen is constantly scrolling for the entire time, and plus you might as well get hit several times notice. So yeah, this feels kind of tricky for the most part though, so let's go ahead and restart that, because even though I'm not going to waste my time before I'm able to get my Rainbow Star ranking on that specific stage. But of course, again, the Heavy Mole's pattern is incredibly random every time you're actually able to retry this mission. But, how do I miss that? I think my timing jumps is a little bit too much of a delay. I think that's why it's at. But, again, it's been a long while since actually coming back to Kirby's Adventure, specifically the NES version, because even then, though, I've played so much on the Game Boy Advance remake for some reason, though, because I'm more accustomed to that specific version, in my opinion, just because of, well, the controls has been slightly improved upon, because, you know, you can able to jump in midair and all that stuff. Okay, so it looks like it's gonna be, oh, there we go. I think that's actually pretty good when it comes to that specific run. But hey, at least we can able to take it. We'll definitely take it for surely. Alright, so we got 2 more stages now, 120 stars all in all, so we've actually unlocked stage number 17, so not too shabby there. And now let's move on to, well, face off against Meta Knight, because I can definitely tell for that familiar image. And this normally takes place in the Orange Ocean at the very end, so bring it on, Meta Knight, sorry. I keep on thinking at the very end of the game, sorry, for some reason. But anyways, though. So all you have to do is basically just keep on slashing this, well, Meta Knight, obviously, until you're able to deal damage on him, and that's all you have to do here. Sometimes he can be pretty tricky to deal with, especially noticeable he keeps blocking the actual, sword attacks, as you can tell right there. But I'm normally able to actually watch some of these, little hints in the forms of the NES credit sequences right there. But normally he's not too bad though. I probably won't guarantee to get the Rainbow Star on that one though, because there were a few times he actually just jumps around all over the place, and especially noticeable he blocks my sword attacks. But hey, at least we'll actually come back to that in another time, specifically on the Rainbow Stars run through, so even then, that makes a little bit of a job done. Here's Pitch right there, after when he got his death right there, so I just want to point things out for that sprite work. Final stage in Kirby's Adventure, defeat the one and only King Dedede. So, bring it on, King Dedede. Hopefully we can able to actually get ourselves a one-on-one fight again. So, but this time around though, we're actually on the, well, for specific matter. So let's go ahead and just... Oh, are you kidding me? Okay, I have to restart this. This might actually took me 8 attempts on this particular boss, or in this case of this specific stage, because for some reason, I'm having a hard time just trying to able to reflect the projectile back at King Dedede, because the only thing you need to keep an eye on for is that as soon as you're able to do this particular inflatable ability, that if you couldn't tell, that normally he has the exact same moves what Kirby does. It can take forever to able to actually get back into able to actually fight King Dedede to begin with. But yeah, it did take me 8 attempts to do for this specific stage. But there we go. That concludes Kirby's Adventure. And I think that pretty much does it for this video, pretty much. Well, we got ourselves the Eggplant Pit from Kid Icarus. So... there we go then, we've actually unlocked stage number 18 from Remake's one set of stages, and we're pretty much done with Kirby's Adventure. So, with these Rainbow Stars I've actually missing on from is definitely 3 stages, which are stage 7, 8, and 12. So, not too long though, not too complicated either, but at least I'll come back to that in another time, but in forms of the Rainbow Stars run through, so don't worry, we'll get to those one day. And same applies for Super Mario Bros. 2, which again, I've already stressed that enough. There's only 4 stages I've actually missing on for the forms of Rainbow Stars runs on those particular kinds of stuff. So, actually, before I end this video off here, it's the fact that I need to double check on the forms of the stamps collection, see how much stamps I've actually collected. Let's see, 4 from that page right there, and 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 stamps. Jeez. Looks like we collected a lot of stamps for this point today, folks. So, speaking of which, we have to end things off here, so join me next time on Let's Play NES Remix 2. It's the fact that we're going to be jumping into the puzzle game. So, see you guys then. Later, fellas.